Welcome back to a mental health break. I'm your host and author of the book, Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Vincent A. Lanci.
And I'm Juan Nunez.
This week, we have a mental health advocate who wanted to share his story of perseverance and resiliency to empower others. By finding out ways to improve his mental health, he is now making a difference in many ways. While I was a college student, I was the victim of a hit-and-run accident while on foot. After coming out of a coma and suffering from a traumatic brain injury, or you may know of as a TBI, I soon realized it was time to put my mental health on a very high pedestal. This transformative experience has led me to create this podcast that is all things mental health. For this week's guest, I have the opportunity to interview someone who heard the show and wanted to join our mental health community. Thank you to an earlier guest, Evan, for this great introduction. Juan Nunez is a testicular cancer and stroke survivor. He has struggled and still struggles with mental health challenges, but uses food and fitness to better himself mentally. He has a journey that is sure to inspire you because he embodies the never give up lifestyle. And I think it would be now a great time to introduce Juan Nunez. Juan, it's great to meet you, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Vincent. It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, I heard Evan, which is a good friend of ours, on the show, and it gravitated towards me that this is something that I would enjoy doing, and I think it's something that needs to be done. I think us as men in general, we typically don't discuss the things that we go through. We kind of just push through and don't really talk much about it. We just say, hey, we got to get this done and we got to put the brave face on. And I think that's something, that we're slowly, gradually getting away from. And, it doesn't make us weak as men to talk about our problems. So that's kind of what I'm here today. I've been through quite a lot in my lifetime, as short as it has been, from, testicular cancer. I had a stroke when I was 25. And then I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic, a lot of health challenges in my life. So, hopefully I can help somebody with my experiences today.
And you absolutely will. I want to thank you for the courage coming on the show. And you hit a great point there where a lot of men don't speak out about their mental health, and conversations like ours may help that disappear. So
Right.
It's not just females who struggle with mental health disparities. So our conversation will be very meaningful today, and I think it is a great time to get into the main event. On each episode, my guest and I will go over this series of questions to help others improve their mental health. You ready to go, Juan?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. So many would agree that the more common or talked about types of mental health disparities are mood disorders, anxiety disorders, or schizophrenia disorders. What areas did you or do you come across the most?
I think it's the mood and the anxiety disorders. I think initially, when I had a stroke, I didn't know what was happening. My whole left side went numb. It's pretty crazy experience. I wouldn't want anybody else to experience it, right? But it made me anxious, even though a lot of people don't see. They see me and they're like, "Oh man, this guy's killing it." He's beat stroke. He's beat a cancer. He's improved in his health so much. But in my own mind, mentally, I'm always questioning myself. I'm always kind of anxious, and I'm like, am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? So I think those two, the anxiety and the mood, and that obviously changes your mood. But the way I've been able to kind of deal with all these things is food and fitness. I think that's the basis of a good overall mental health, because you are kind of what you eat. If we're eating number ones, number twos every day, we're going to wake up feeling like crap the next day, and that's kind of something that I've really worked hard at is food and fitness. I've been on this keto diet. I'm sure that a lot of people, this is a fad diet. You cut out the sugar, and you eat a lot more organic stuff, material that's natural, that comes from this earth. And that's really greatly improved my energy and my mental focus and overall mental health. I mean, that all improves your mental health because you feel 10 times better about yourself, because you wake up uh, not feeling groggy or sleepy. Oh, I don't want to be up today. You kind of wake up and like, hey, let's kick today's butt. Let's get everything done. And that's kind of what I see. And then the anxiety disorder. Um, I've never really thought of myself as being an anxious person, but I am.
Mhm.
Even though I don't really show it, I just hide it well. I get nervous, I get anxious at things, but I process it in a way where I don't show it to people, but I'm processing it in my own head, and that's kind of where I live. That's me in particular. I live in my head, and the anxiety and all of getting told that you have stage 3A testicular cancer is pretty crazy. That's
Yeah.
something that nobody expects. So that's kind of the couple of disorders that I see most often within myself as well.
Yeah, well, your experiences are definitely going to help a lot of people, as you are not the only person in the world to have battled that, but your courage is what separates you. But you hit a lot of great points there. You're talking about how it all starts with the food, right? And it can even be related to the present time right now with COVID, where, not to get too much down that rabbit hole, but no
Right.
one's really talking about eating healthy and building
Yes.
up your immune system so you can avoid an illness. That's not really what we're hearing. We're just hearing more about things, about the shots and the vaccines, which is, of course, great for many ways, but we're talking about natural things we can do here: fitness, eating correct. So, everybody listening on, those aren't just two things that you hear all the time for no reason. Fitness and health. I know for me, fitness is more valuable for my mental health than physical health. And what I mean by that is, when I don't get at least 30 minutes of exercise, that doesn't mean heavy lifting everyone. That could be a walk. That could be anything. I'm not thinking clearly. I'm anxious about thoughts I shouldn't even be thinking about. I'm stressing about things I shouldn't be stressing about. And my day is pretty much not as
Downhill.
productive as it really should have been, because I didn't take the steps needed to set myself up for success. But you've been through some adversity here, Juan. Can you describe that moment for us where you decided that this is the time I'm going to start taking a stance on mental health advocacy? Now's the time where I'm sharing my story.
It started with cancer. I really shut down, I think, in a way, where I was just processing everything. I didn't really, the whole time I was going through chemo, which was very aggressive, uh, I didn't speak to anyone.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that was really difficult, but that's how I process things in
Right.
my head. But I'm trying to get better about talking to people about how I felt and all that. And it's not easy at all
Of course.
as a man. But I think that was the kicking point of saying, hey, there's other people out there struggling and they don't know how to process this. And that's kind of my starting point is after cancer. I went to a holistic doctor who put me on this, keto diet and fasting and all that. And, he approached me, he's like, hey, we want you to do this show, or talk about your experiences and how food has helped you and all that. And that's kind of what kicked off everything. But then COVID hit, of course, and I didn't really get the opportunity to do those things. I also did a Voices Over Cancer book, so that's another way that I've tried to help. Just explain my story and how everything went down, because it wasn't the easiest. It was, I was at one hospital system, Wellstar. They were doing all my scans and all this, but they weren't going to see me until January of 2019
Mhm.
to look at all my stuff. So I had to be proactive and search for a second opinion, and that's what
Right.
really took off. But I think cancer was the big mental key. Of course, when I had the stroke, I kind of started on Facebook and all that. Like,
Right. Right.
I'm trying to get healthy. People should try to get more healthy or start walking. It doesn't matter, because you just never know when something's going to hit you. That's where it all started for me.
Well, I got to say, Juan, I'm so grateful we had this introduction, because I feel your passion through this video here. And you hit
Yeah.
it perfectly that we're all going through something. Everybody is going through something. And yes, a lot of times they are challenging. But if you're willing to share your story, you could be that voice that you may have wished you heard. For me, with a traumatic brain injury, You hear from a lot of doctors of what may happen, what should happen, what could happen, but you don't really hear it out of the horse's mouth, if you will, enough where, okay, you're not going to have your memory back for quite some time. You're not going to do this, like, because every brain is different, as you've learned. There is no one brain fits all. When they said traumatic brain injury, doctors say, hey, your memory may come back next year, it may not come back for a while. We don't know. And, you know, you hear all these things out of textbooks you read, but hearing it from someone that's like, hey, I got through this and you're going to get through it too,
Yeah.
it can really propel you in a million directions because of how dark some days are. So again, your story, how many dividends it's going to pay, it's going to be great, Juan. So thank you for coming on. But this next question is big, and I have a feeling I know two of the ones that you already do. So I'm anxious to see here. If you could pick two, and I say just two because I want the two most important answers here, man. What are the two most important things our listeners can do on a daily or short-term basis? And then we're going to go ahead and look towards the long-term basis. But let's start short-term.
Short term, I think you already know, is getting out, being a little bit active. Short term, I mean, it just takes up, getting off the couch and getting outside, getting some sun, being with nature. We are a special, being. We're humans, and we have all this beauty around us, and that does something to people. It makes you feel good. It makes you be like, wow, look at this, the trails and stuff that we have. So on a short-term basis, just get outside.
Nature's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. Just get outside, get some sun, and that really helps, overall health as well. A lot of people just, I'll just stay inside. I know, that's the thing now is COVID. Nobody wants to go outside, but there's still trails and stuff that you can hit. I mean, simply walking, your driveway or up and down your street, saying hey to someone that you pass by, that they're in their yard or whatever, just something like that on a short-term basis will definitely help overall mental health, because being stuck inside and confined to this space, and just the technology is great, being sucked into Facebook and all this. We have so much data and information out there that people just don't, it's very hard for anyone, even someone that's experienced, to sift through all this data that we have coming in left and right. What's true, what's not, get away from all that for a short time and go outside and enjoy some time with your family. I think that on a short-term basis will definitely help. And of course, for the long term, of course, is the food. Start, trying to eat a little bit healthy, whether it's eating some fruit, let's get away from the fast food, the really highly processed foods, the sugar. Sugar is another big thing. I mean, the U.S. is one of the populations that has, the highest of diabetics. Why?
Look why? Yeah.
Why? And that's another thing, not to get sidetracked here about COVID. That's one, again, you pointed this out earlier. This is something that they don't talk about. Eating healthy and making sure that you have a strong immune system will greatly help your fight against COVID. If you happen to get it, hopefully you don't, but if you do happen to get it, I think that's one of the major factors of why we probably got hit so hard, because we do have a huge population that have a lot of, we have a lot of diabetics, people that are overweight, and it's hard. I understand that. I was at one point in my life where I weighed 240 pounds,
Really? And looking at you now, I would not know that.
Well, I'm 220, I've only lost 20 pounds, but I've gained muscle, just because you only see a short amount of pounds coming off, your body transformed just with even that amount of pounds coming off, so that's my biggest long-term thing is food. That is super, super powerful when it comes to overall mental health and physical health, of course, but everybody sees that as a physical thing, I think, and I think we need to get away from that and see it more as a mental thing, for your brain, so you can think more clearly. You don't have this fog and stuff. So I think that's my long-term improvement that I would highly recommend. And it's helped me throughout my cancer journey, especially after treatment. My doctors were really, really blown away by the fact that I was done in March of 28 2018, 2019. It's been 2 years with my chemo. It's very aggressive.
Mhm.
Um, but my recovery rate, typically they say, it takes a good probably year. I was back and rock climbing and doing everything that I did by doing, the special diet and just forcing myself to go out there, even though I felt weak. I just pushed through it, and I said, okay, I can do this. I can get back to where I was, and I did. That also helped with my girlfriend, Allison.
Mhm.
She's been great. The people around you.
Of
Don't
course, love
let
it.
Yeah, don't let those people around you, don't steal away their thunder and trying to help you and support you. That's one of the other difficulties that I had, but long term, for me, it's food all day long. And I think that will improve just physical and mental health all the way.
I'm so grateful these are things you're speaking about, because these are things that people can do right now, not have to change up their life too much. They can go to the grocery store and switch up their groceries. They can go outside and hit a walk. I like what you say. Hey, go up and down your driveway a little bit. And I think that we're going to have to do a book exchange after the show as well, because a lot of things you're talking about are in my new book, Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health. And
Yes.
it's great to see how far you've come, man. You should be real proud of yourself. And now you're out here sharing your journey, which leads me to this next question. What are some ways we're going to continue to raise awareness for the importance of mental health in the future?
Of course, doing podcasts like this, at some point maybe in the future, will have me back, and we can dive deep into other things. But spreading awareness. Also, do gaming and stuff. I stream online. It's a part-time thing. It's nothing that
Yeah.
it's just something that connect with friends and just talk, and we just cut up and have a good time. But I think doing more talks like this and doing more awareness on Facebook and Instagram. Of course, that's the way we
Mhm.
communicate now these days. But not only that, but reaching out to friends, and just talking with them. Because I think that's a very hard thing for males to do, is hit up a friend. Hey man, how are you doing mentally? Let's really dig into it. A lot we're really closed into what we want to talk about because we think it's going to make us weak, or someone's going to see that we're weak. But I see that as a sign of strength, being able to talk about the problems that you have and then getting through them. Sometimes you can't just talk to yourself, you got to talk to someone else. And I think that's kind of some of the ways that I'm going to try to continue to raise awareness of mental and overall health. I mean, that's a big thing for me.
You couldn't said it better. I mean, as men, we have this long history of being tough guys, this and that. We don't want to let I know everybody know how we feel. But as we're about to get ready for the spotlight story, one we earlier did was on Kevin Love. And it said, his father said, "You're a man. You musk those emotions. You don't show them." But also, what we're learning, not only if you keep things bottled in too long, if you sit by yourself in the house for too long, it can only be detrimental to your mental health. So I think it's a great time now to get into the spotlight story. Where for you listeners who have been listening on, I share the mental health story of someone who is famous each week because I want to let you, the listeners, know you are not alone. I want you to understand that even though someone looks like they're healthy from the outside, they may not be on the inside too. And for today's episode, we will introduce the story of another male who is breaking mental health stigma and former NBA player Channing Frye. Frye has openly discussed his battle with depression, and the article describes the challenges as, quote, a space where eating was a chore and smiling was a challenge. While he was shining under the bright lights of the NBA, he was in a dark space in his mind. As he has since persevered, he now offers to frequently share his story and offer other advice to help others improve their lives. I will end this write up with one piece of advice he did offer in this article in, quote, change up the routine, no matter how small. If you are in a dark place and continue to do the same things day to day, you can never expect to clear the fog. To clear it, you have to change. Even a minor alteration can have a major impact. While the journey will not be without its bumps, it will be worth it in the end. Juan, what do you take away from this story?
Well, I mean, they couldn't have put it any clearer there. I mean, the smallest step, and that is getting out the door, going outside. I think that's what I see is a small step of go outside, be a little bit active, change things, kind of do something that's out of your comfort zone. Because that's how we overall improve our mental health and say, oh yeah, we can do that. I know a lot of people have different fears and stuff. I have some personally, even though it may not seem like it. I'm a little bit afraid of heights, but I love rock climbing. I go out there and tread when I can. So just it takes just a small step, and that could even be, I see a lot of people don't say, "Hey, how you doing?" anymore. They don't
Mhm,
hold doors for people anymore.
mhm.
Something as small as that, something positive, it makes you feel good inside, and that's a huge impact to your mental health. If you can just, I know we all wear masks, but just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Hope you have a good day. Even if they don't say it back, you don't know what kind of impact that may have on that person. You don't know what kind of day they've been having, that day, and that could potentially save someone's life. Like, dang, somebody actually cares, how I'm doing. Somebody said, hey, how you doing, or have a good day. That can have a huge impact for sure.
You could have said that better, and I know how you and Evan became such good friends because something Evan talked about too was the magnitude of you waving to someone, saying, "Hey, how are you?" Giving someone a high five because of how much it can improve someone's day. Unfortunately, with COVID, and as he put it, that high five could be that could kill you. So right now
Right.
we switch from the high five, but the virtual high five doesn't do the same. So what you're stressing here, sharing your story, experience sharing, we're not alone. Powerful stuff here, Juan. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I know the listeners are going to see all the value in the episode, not only for the story share and experience share, but that you stress things, go for a walk, change up your diet, do all of these things that are so simple. And as you can attest to, they make the biggest of difference. You have to take a small step in the right direction, which you seem to have done. You're coming here talking about exercise, weightlifting, dropping 20 pounds, but you're putting it on in muscle. You're improving
Yes.
everything, talking about how exercise is good for your mental health as well. All powerful stuff. So I think it's a great time here to get into the last word. And I also do this on my other podcast series, That Entrepreneur Show, too, because I want our listeners to really get to know the guests I bring on. Is there something that you would like to touch on that we did not share yet today?
Um, don't be afraid of reaching out for help. Um, you're not going to be weak in that. I'm doing that now. I'm going to be going to see a counselor this weekend
Mhm.
to try and improve my overall self. I think that's super important for men in general. I know women have to deal with this as well.
Mhm.
They deal with a lot more differences because they have all these hormone. They deal with a lot more than what we typically deal with. But it's super important for us as men to get out of that shell because it's going to make you stronger. Even though you think it's going to make you weak, it will make you stronger. I think that's just one of the biggest things that I would, like everyone to take away is it's okay to talk about your problems. We all have them. We're all different. We all have different issues that we go
Mhm.
through, and you just never know what someone could bring to the table just by talking to them. They could light some kind of idea. Well, I didn't really think of that, or I didn't really see it in that manner. And being respectful of each other. That's a huge thing. I know a lot of people, this divisiveness and stuff.
Mhm.
Let's learn to respect everybody's opinion and take it for what it is. It's just that, an opinion, and learn to respect each other. I think that's kind of another thing that's kind of been lost as well throughout this craziness. Is mutual respect. Okay, I understand you have different views, but I think we don't have this many people on this planet not to learn from.
Mhm.
With different cultures and all this, I think it's a good thing to kind of open your mind and see how other people live. You just don't know what you're going to learn from someone.
I love it, man. I respect you for what you stand for. You're saying all of the things that people need to embody. Would you now mind please taking the time to share your professional social media, any website, ways to get that book, all that good stuff?
Yeah. You can Voices Over Cancer. It's summitquest.org. And that's you can Google that. You can see the Voices Over Cancer. They have various editions. I'm in the 2020 edition. And Fleetwood Mac at Fleetwood Mac MAK 00 for my Twitch, and Fleetwood Mac 01 for Facebook for my streaming stuff. We're just on there. We just average Joes, man. We're not anything famous or anything. We got a very small following, and we just cut up. We try, and sometimes we dive deep into some deep conversations. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of how we do it. But most of it, we talk crap. We're just having fun. But yeah, that's all I have for now. Hopefully, in the future, I'll potentially have another show here with you and maybe somewhere else. Who knows?
And it is also social media time for the show, and we're on whichever platform you like to use. We're at A Mental Health Break on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And on Twitter, we're at Podcasts by Lanci. So you have updates from this show and that entrepreneur show. Of course, my handles on all social media and YouTube are at Vincent A. Lanci, and my website is vincentalanci.com. If you check out any of my books, DM me. I would love to hear from you. We have Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, and How to Transform Your Mindset When the Norm is Changed. All are on my website now. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate the show 5 stars and continue listening by subscribing. That's all for this week, and I'll see you all on the next episode of A Mental Health Break.